Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Studio with Carliss, where we spotlight people, stories, and organizations making a positive impact in our community. I'm your host, Carliss Jones, and I have a very special guest joining us today. She is a passionate advocate, community leader, and a champion for preserving local history and culture. Dedication, service, and leadership, she has worked tirelessly to ensure that the legacy of the Whittier communities continues to inspire future generations.
Correct.
Today we explore the importance of community engagement, historic preservation, leadership, your vision for a stronger future. Whether you're interested in local history, community development, or simple enjoy hearing your inspiring story for making a difference. So please join me in welcoming Jessica Paul.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Paul, and I am the community advocate for the Whittier Historic Community.
Okay, that's all you want to tell our listeners today, Jess, about you?
I actually been doing this for 6 years now.
Okay.
I'm advocating for the community. I actually stepped into it after Jen transitioned to the city of St. Cloud.
Then who is Jen?
Jen Paul, everyone knows Jen Paul by Councilwoman Paul. That's my twin sister, and she's Jennifer Paul to me, or
Okay.
Councilwoman Paul.
Okay, I like that. And I think this is a great coincidence
Yes.
because on the last episode, we were blessed with Jennifer, and she mentioned her twin, Jessica. And lo and behold, we have you here in the studio with Carlos today. Very, very excited.
Yeah.
So what we do in our normal format, we do a question and answer period because I want people to get to know who you are, what you represent, and your platform about the Whittier community.
I think this is a great timing because right now we're in the midst of planning our first event for the Whittier Historic Community, and a lot of people are wondering, what is the Whittier Historic Community? Why are we doing this, or why we're doing this event? So it's a great timing to
Excellent.
explain.
All right. So what makes the historic Whittier community special?
It's special.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay, Jess. I like that. You have the answers and you're ready to go. I like that. So she's oozing with confidence, ready to share this information. So let me finish this question.
Yes, sir.
And give me the positive, strong answer that I know that you will. What makes the Whittier historic community so special? And why is this preserving its important history for future generations important to you?
It's important because the Whittier Historic Community is in the heart of Narcoosa. My family's been out there decades, and so I'm the fourth generation of the Paul family.
Okay,
so
okay.
It really makes it special because my family has been out there, great-grandparents, grandparents, and then my parents was, my dad was raised out there. So it's going to always be hard to me.
Okay. That's good. I like that. Not being from St. Cloud, but learning the history of St. Cloud is one of the things I really like about the podcast because it gives me just additional information about some of the areas and just learn the history. And I think our history is so important. And then when you meet someone who's just adamant about ensuring that our history does not be pushed in the back.
Right.
It stays on the forefront. Because a lot of people made a lot of sacrifices for all of us to be where we are today. So
That's true.
I commend you.
And as I learned more about the Whittier Historic Community, I've learned that my ancestors who were out there, my great-grandparents, there was a lot of things that went on that just was like, now I need to be a voice for that community.
Right. I like that. Okay, what are some of the biggest challenges facing the historic community today?
Right now, we are dealing with the environmental issue that's been... Where do I start? It started back in 1964, and the residents there now are experiencing the aftermath of it. So
Oh, wow.
It used to be an old landfill in the middle of the community where it was brought to the community. The residents were there first. So, and we're just dealing with the contamination now of the water.
Oh, wow. Okay. How do you balance honoring the past while embracing growth and development within the community for the future?
I just feel like, we have to preserve it because, this is all we have left in the community, and to keep that history alive so that our kids and kids' kids can understand where history from the Whittier historic, where they come from in the community. And I just feel like it's very important to just preserve everything that we can. It is a historic Black community, so if we can preserve what's left of it, our kids will understand where they come from.
I like that. I like that. And again, this is a up close and personal history lesson in the making, and it's so important when you get an opportunity to be a part of history, because the things you are doing, you will go down in history for being a voice, stepping out. So again, I commend you for your efforts on what you're doing.
It's not easy, like advocating, and sometimes most people want to throw in the towel.
Right.
I've had that couple moments, but I can't quit now because I've come too far. We have come too far to just throw in the towel. So as long as I have breath in me, I'm going to keep raising about Riddick Historic Community so everybody understands the whole history behind it.
That's excellent. You kind of answered my next question. I was going to ask you, are there times you feel like I'm fighting an uphill battle and I feel like, throwing in the towel? But your answer was spot on. In our journey sometimes, sometimes the road looks like we can't do it. But I think that's when we just dig in a little bit more and ask God for the strength to continue to push us. And then you will eventually start moving toward the goal. Correct. And you'll pick up momentum and things will start to move into the direction. And then you'll look up and you'll be like, wow. Look what we accomplished.
Right.
And I definitely think you're on the road to that now, because I see how adamant you are on social media. Yes. Your posts, you're not afraid to go out and say things that need to be said.
Right.
And sometimes that can be a challenge.
Yeah, very much so, because I've learned that. I've always been a quiet person, but when I see what we deal with as a Black community, I just can't sit quiet on these things, so I'm going to have to be vocal about it.
Okay, all right. Jess is coming out, everybody. She's coming out. All right. So what community initiatives or projects are you involved in that you are most proud of in addition to the Riddick community?
The first one would be where we advocated for our community, federal and state funding to get clean water through the Toho Water Authority. So we've been advocating for that for quite some time. I would say a couple years now. Congressman Darren Soto has been a big help with that.
Okay.
And much kudos to him, because he came out on site, he listened, he's seen what we needed as a community, and he did his part by advocating for us in Washington, D.C. So much kudos to him for that. So that would be a very exciting moment, because we've always heard that things may get vetoed and stuff like that, but we were able to get ours approved and the funding's available. So
excellent, and that's good. I like that. I like when we give people their flowers.
Yes,
that's a good look. So thank you for sharing that information. How can local residents become more engaged in preserving and strengthening their neighborhoods, in your opinion?
Being a voice. Don't sit back and, just look from the sidelines. Definitely be a voice, be supportive of what's happening in your community, because our community goes through so much already. And to sit back and, just look from the sidelines, we need that support. We need the community to come together. When it's time for meetings at the county administration building, we need to all be in armed forces there. I can give kudos to the Riddick Historic residents, because when there's something we need to do, I send my message out and they are there, so they have definitely been supportive. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's powerful, and I think that's a very strong statement. There's an old saying, there's strength in numbers.
That's correct.
And especially if you're standing for a positive process.
Right.
And when you come in a peaceful manner, but you have the facts and you're standing for what you know is right, I think that paints the picture sometimes that, like they said, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and the strength. So kudos. That's really good advice.
Thank you.
Yes, you're on point. You were ready for this, weren't you?
I was ready.
I like that. What qualities do you believe are essential for effective community leadership, especially in today's environment?
I think being boots on the ground, coming out to see what your community is dealing with, especially when real life situations are going on. Come listen, and hear what the residents are experiencing. I think having that visual of things makes a difference versus just sitting behind. Anyone can send an email all day long, but come be a visual in the community so we can talk to our representation for real life situations. So just being in the community definitely would make a big difference. So.
Okay. So when you're saying being in the community, like, what's your definition of that? Showing up to what? How, if people wanted to be in the community and they had no knowledge of where you meet, how does that happen?
I started the initiative of having community meetings. I plaster it all on Facebook.
Okay.
If I was a leader seeing that my community was having things, I would come out there to see what the issue is. I shouldn't have to come to you when you know that there's real life problems happening. Let me go see what my constituents can have or what's going on there, and let me go walk the situation to see, but I just think being a visual and having real life, contact or visual in the community will make a difference.
Okay. All right. Well, one thing I can say, I know you're a twin, and Jennifer A. Paul is your assistant. But one thing that I know is consistent. Her message was exactly what you're saying. That community involvement has really been etched in your DNA. And I'm glad to see that you have not moved away from that. And it's so important to you. So again, I commend you for just having that will, desire, and determination to continue to move that forward. That's very, very inspiring. It's very powerful.
Thank you.
So who has inspired you along your leadership journey? What lessons have you learned from them?
Say definitely my family. I come from a strong faith-based family, supportive family, and my great-grandparents and my grandparents, my parents, I even have cousins that I look up to, and we just come from a strong family, and that having that faith, resilience, and everything is what inspired me to keep going, so I would definitely say my families, but most of all, God,
Amen.
Continues.
Yes.
He's number one for that. So
right. I like how you said your family. I've had an opportunity to meet some of your family members. I've had an opportunity to photograph some of your family members, and I know that there are younger generations following behind.
Right.
And I think it's so important that what you and your family are doing, you're modeling something for the youth. So I'm assured that they're paying attention because, our kids, they pay attention to everything we do as adults.
Right.
And as they grow into, adults, hopefully they won't have to fight some of the challenges that you're fighting.
Right.
But they'll have that strong determination and that strong willpower to say, you know what, my grandmother did it. My ancestors did it. I saw my mom do it.
Right.
So I'm going to do it. So I continue to give you your accolades for what you're doing, because sometimes it's hard to take a stand.
Right.
But especially with something that you believe in and you're passionate about, I'm glad to know that for your advocacy, what you're supporting is powerful.
And
Go ahead.
And I do want to say, I do have mentors that keep me encouraged along the way as well. Having that positive encouragement from older folks in my community is a plus too, because there's been days, frustration days, and sometimes I just call them up, and just to hear their encouragement with things, it's a big comfort knowing that, Jessica, you got this,
Yeah. And that's another great point, because we all need a circle of strength. But it's really good when we can lean on our seniors. And a lot of times they ran the race so long, and it's good that they have someone that they can pass the baton to pick up the race and take it to the next leg.
Oh yeah.
So Jess, you doing it, sis.
Thank you.
Doing it. All right, looking ahead, what is your vision for the future of the historic Whittick community, and what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I think just, preserving the history of what's been built there from multiple families. There's a lot of history in the Whittick Historic community that I'm learning, and just preserving all that, and, even for the younger generations. I think preserving it now so that way when they get older, they can have something to go back on and look at and learn where they come from, especially with my son, I want him to be like, well, this is where I grew up at. And
Right.
so I just think preserving that history definitely is a big part of it.
Okay. All right. Well, I definitely appreciate you stopping by the studio with Carliss, and I have to ask you this question.
Okay.
Tell us one thing that our listeners don't know about you that you think would shock them if you told them.
I am a twin, if you don't know, but some people get that still mixed up. I am a twin, but I think that's the only one. It's just,
That's it.
yeah, because
No special hobbies, no special talents. You just a twin. That's it, Jess?
I'm the nice twin. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Jen, did you hear that part of the shot? No.
Honestly, let me see what I would say. I think right now I'm just enjoying the life with doing what I'm doing, advocating for the community. That really keeps me busy, and as I do more of it and learn the history, I'm really enjoying it. Even though it's tough, but I do enjoy on the back end because I learned so much. I'm learning so much about everything and to put it all together. Because one thing I would like to do with this community is document everything, and that way we have a documentary that we could go back and look at and say, hey, like, this was here in Central Florida. This is my hometown. So that's keeping me busy, and I enjoy doing that. So
Yeah, I like that. So to me, that speaks legacy. I like that, but I also hear growth. Because when you started this journey, there's probably things that you learned along the way that's actually made you a better person professionally and just in this overall process. And I think that sometimes we look at our journey and we try to figure out what are some of our takeaways. But if we go back and look at how we began the journey and how we are growing through the journey, at the end of the journey, we will have gained so much momentum and made ourselves a better person in different ways.
And I do want to say, like, when I started this, because I used to go to different conferences where people were experiencing the same thing that we're experiencing. And to hear other people's stories, it's like, man, I couldn't even imagine. But then we are dealing with our own situation, and it make you look at life different, especially in our Black communities. Like, we have some real serious issues going on, and it just makes me like, wow, like, want to be doing more than what I can do, so it gives you a different input of life.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're doing, again, you definitely should be applauded. But stepping out the way you're doing it, that's a beginning. So you are definitely not someone that's just talking about it. What you said, boots on the ground, I like that. So you're out there in the trenches, you're sweating, you're doing whatever you need to do, knocking on doors, just making people aware. But this has been very informative for me, again, because I'm learning more about the Whittick community. I've had an opportunity to go over in that area and see some of the names of the streets in that neighborhood. Can you give me a little origin about some of the street names in that neighborhood?
Yeah, so some of the street names are named after families that were here in the community, like the Whittick family, the Paul family, the Scipio family, the Edie family, the Butler family, the Little family. So there's a lot of families that grew up out there. So actually, Cousin Ann helped name those streets in the Whittick historic community.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And so, and I do want to add that even with our local church, St. Luke Missionary Baptist Church, it'll be 140 years this year. So there's a lot of history and growth in that community, even with the cemetery. We do have a Black cemetery out there, and that's 115 years. So there's a lot of history out there.
Wow. Wow. So you shared a lot of additional information, but it's good. And that's the real purpose of this podcast. I love to have opportunity with this forum because it gives us an opportunity to just share a lot of information, talk about things that others may have had no knowledge of.
Right.
People may not know there's been a cemetery out there with that old or the church. So again, Jess, I definitely thank you for coming by. It's been a pleasure having you in the studio. And one day, who knows, I might have Jess and Jen in the studio with Carliss, and I think that will be a very, very interesting podcast. But again, I definitely appreciate it, and I wish you nothing but the best on your endeavor. And if there's anything I can do to help you in that process, I'm not afraid of rolling up my sleeves, getting out there to do whatever I can to help, because I just feel like history is so important. And I think we owe it to our ancestors to continue with the race. So thank you again. And again, this won't be your last time on the podcast. I will be giving you an invitation to come back.
Well, I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah,
And I do want to say thank you for the opportunity to be on here, because I think this is very important that, we do share our story, and this is something very awesome, and I'm glad that you're doing this, and I'm honored that you invited me on here to take a moment to give a history about the Whittier Historic Community. So I just want to leave one last thing is that, Modem, and I give credit to Rick Whittick for this, is be a good neighbor. Even when no one is looking, always remember to be a good neighbor. So
yeah, I like that. You flowing. It's just coming. I like that. You giving us more, and you're giving us more. But again, I definitely appreciate it. Everyone, I thank you for joining in. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel, Creative One Photos Media, and who knows, one day you could be in the studio with Carliss. Have a great day.